Peace, everyone. Happy Monday, Mindfulness Monday. To everyone joining me, making sure I'm going live on all platforms right now. Happy 4th to those who celebrate. Happy Monday to those who don't. Peace, peace. What's up? We're going to talk about boundaries today. Making sure I got all my ducks in a row here. Got some good mental food. I won't be too long, but we will be thorough. How about that? Peace, everybody. Peace, peace, family. All right. Seems like we are good here. So, peace and grand rising. I am respectful of everyone's time. Make sure I got this thing. So, I want to be sure that I am on time and moving in divine timing and operating in that manner. So, shout out to those joining us live and those who will catch the replay. We are discussing boundaries and how to set healthy boundaries today. I feel that it's big. It has been a pivotal point in my healing journey. So, I'm going to share what I know, what's been working for me, answer some questions. Our sister Noni should be joining us here shortly. We're going to go ahead and get started. I just first want to just let you guys know, if you are not following our YouTube channel, what are you doing? No, joking. Follow Blooming Lotus Birthing and Womb Wellness on YouTube, guys, if you're not already. So much good content being uploaded and edited to be given exclusively and presented exclusively on my YouTube channel. So please check it out. So much good content. We do the Mindfulness Mondays. And then we also do the Zero to Zen on Fridays, and so much more to come. So excited. So if you're not following me there, please head on over, hit that subscribe button. I would appreciate it so much. Love you, love you, love you. Also, shout out to those who listen to the podcast, the Elevate podcast series. Thank you to my faithful listeners and subscribers. Y'all, it is like amazing that I am already over 1,000 downloads already on our new podcast series. Season 2 has just started. If y'all have not checked it out, please do so. Let's raise them numbers. I appreciate it. It's so much good mental food. I love doing the podcast. So yeah, shout out to y'all. Great successes. And shout out to Elevate Enterprises and Herbs for all of the inspiration, for backing me up, for just being there and being family. So elevate with elevate, baby. Shout out to Lord I knew. Yeah. So we got Noni in this thing, and we're gonna get started talking about some healthy boundaries. What are they? Why do we need these in our lives? What do healthy boundaries look like? What do unhealthy boundaries look like? Let's dive in. Peace, sis.
Peace. How are you?
I am well. I am well. So good to see you on this beautiful Monday.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I was just letting the people know that we're gonna be talking about boundaries today. Just what are they and how are they important, and what types of boundaries exist, and how do I implement healthy boundaries in my lifestyle? And I'm gonna be sharing 5 essential tools. My 5 essential. I didn't claim it, but it's just 5 tools that I use in my day to day to basically create and set boundaries. I set boundaries with everyone in my life. I have to. Boundaries define who you are. It makes you unique from the other individual. Even things when we talk about boundaries, people forget, like diet and stuff like that. People can intrude on your boundaries when it comes to diet. I have been such a victim of this. Oh, victim. No, seriously. I've been on the receiving end of being people violating my boundaries. Like, oh girl, you can eat this, it ain't gonna hurt you, and things like that. Well, okay, respect my decision, respect my no, please, and let's be okay with being different,
Right.
because that is what makes us unique, and we know that that is our superpower, our uniqueness. So boundaries help to distinguish that uniqueness. Who are you? What do you desire? Because I know a lot of people make decisions, especially moms. I love my moms, but we make decisions based upon what's best for the collective or the family. So we end up making sacrifices rather than choosing what we would really desire. So when we uphold our boundaries, we remain true to ourselves. So when we talk about boundaries, I like to look at myself as a person that's outside of me. Like, I'm not going to violate this person. I'm not going to disrespect this person. So what can I do to prevent this from happening? Boundaries. So yes, yes. Nani, how are you, sis? Come through, come through. What you got to put in on this boundary before I dive in? I got some little pointers. I got notes, so I'm on target today. Y'all know I like to ramble and go all over the place. But yes, yes, yes. Talk to the people.
Yeah, boundaries are super important. It's how you show yourself self-love. It's how you do self-care. Because without boundaries, it can have you leaning towards people pleasing and doing what's best for others instead of what's best for self. And then boundaries are hard to come by. I know for myself, I had to learn how to create boundaries. Boundaries wasn't something that I just came into awareness or created for myself. I had to learn that boundaries were important. And then I had to also learn that boundaries are okay, because a lot of people will make you feel like your boundary is offensive to them, and instead of them taking it like, well, do I love this person enough to respect their boundaries? It's not about me, it's about that person and what they need, how they want to be loved or spoken to or anything. And boundaries also help show you a lot about the people that surround you too, because if someone can't respect your boundaries or if someone is constantly overstepping them, then you might have to reevaluate who that person is in your life, because that can turn into a toxic situation or a toxic relationship in which you are drained of your energy. So boundaries are super, super important. And I'm excited to hear what you have for these 5 steps. And yeah, let's get in.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's a way of just providing self care to you, and it should be a constant. And you're right. People can make you feel as if, like you are bad or guilty or selfish for choosing boundaries. And that is where we have to evaluate self,
Yeah,
because I've learned in my journey that I can only feel a way that I choose to feel. We're human at the end of the day, but people act however they choose to act, however they choose to show up in the world for their day. And I can choose to tap into that or not. I can choose to say, hey, you make me feel guilty, or hey, you make me feel sad. We can choose that. And it's an everyday practice. But until then, we have to learn to be balancing our emotions and knowing that we want to be congruent with those around us. We want those around us to be able to respect those boundaries. And if they can't, then there's some changes that need to be made. There's
exactly.
some adjustments that need to be made. So I love, love, love that.
And
So
no, let me
no,
say this, and
please do.
no title trumps your boundaries, okay? Because I know a lot of times, even with parents, sometimes they feel like they don't have to respect their children's boundaries because why? You know what I mean? Like that whole "I brought you into this world" entitlement sense of, you know, it's a tad bit controlling, and so um, we have to build up those boundaries within ourselves to know that, okay, even though you are who you are, I still am allowed to have those boundaries for myself. So yeah.
Yes, yes, does not carry a title whatsoever. This should be across the board, because enforcing boundaries or having boundaries basically protect your self-esteem.
Yeah,
It protects who you are. It allows you to maintain self-respect, knowing of, this is who I am. This is a thing that I'm not going to allow you to cross that boundary. I'm not going to allow this person to cross that boundary. It should be the same way for children, spouses,
yeah,
strangers. Those boundaries should be firm. It's a constant for you. Um,
exactly.
And it'll definitely bring out those healthy relationships. It'll definitely bring out the ones who truly are in it for the long haul and care, to even hear or get to know, your likes and dislikes. So when we have unhealthy boundaries, a lot of people walk around with a lot of codependency issues. Hey, if I'm not happy, they're not happy. If I'm not feeding them my energy or present with them, then they're not happy. Or if I'm not giving them attention, they're not happy. Or if I'm not giving them something to feed them, they're not happy. That's an unhealthy boundary. If you're finding like a lot of depression and anxiety, stress, like a lot of stress induced responses, like if you're meeting up with this person or you have a relationship with this person and y'all constantly butting heads and they're triggering you, that
Yeah.
is an indication that there's an unhealthy boundary in that relationship.
Yeah.
So start by just saying boundaries by definition are guidelines. They're basically rules or limits that allows a person to create an identity for themselves. That it allows that person to feel safe.
Right.
And it's basically laying a foundation for how people treat you or don't treat you. So people say all the time, well, someone treated me bad or they disrespected me. And in some instances we can't control this, but in a lot of situations when someone is doing it over and over and over again, maybe we need to set up a boundary to where that's not happening.
Right.
Because I like to look at a lack of boundaries like a open door, like a wide open door. And if we don't have any boundaries, anybody can come and go as they please, run up your light bill, eat up your groceries, all of that, and then you're left empty and toe up. But if
Yeah.
we have firm boundaries, we monitor who comes in and out of that door and how much we give and how much they receive. And then on the other end or the other extreme is if a boundary is too rigid. I know a lot of times for me in the past, one of my toxic traits was to just leave. I didn't explain anything. I didn't speak about it. I just left. I just removed my presence and, ghosted you like, bye, you know?
Yeah.
And that was toxic. It was just my way of saying, this is stressful for me. I don't want to face these emotions that may be difficult for me to process, but I don't want to deal with it anymore either. So I'll just leave the situation altogether. But it leaves people wondering, hey, what did I do?
Right.
How could I? And some people, some stuff is just misinterpreted. So a lot of times I would miss opportunities to connect with people or even reconcile very small issues because I didn't want to face challenges of confrontation. That's another indicator that you ain't got firm boundaries. You don't like confrontation
Right.
because that happens in relationships. Not to say that there has to be a negative confrontation or you got to be in each other's space getting ready to fight, but if you are avoiding these things, then it's an indicator that there's a lack of boundaries, or maybe the boundary is too rigid.
Right.
So if it's too rigid, you all locked up and nobody can get inside. And an open heart is what we know, it's a must. That's how you thrive with an open heart. So if you're like, I ain't letting nobody in, I'm just gonna shut down, that's not good either. It's just as reckless as leaving that boundary wide open.
Yeah. And your boundaries don't have to be understood either. Like,
Right.
boundaries are for you. So it doesn't matter if anyone else approves or thinks it's right or fair. If that's what the boundary you're setting for yourself, they don't have to understand it, but they should respect it. And if that's something that that person cannot do, then again, like we're saying, reevaluate, maybe that relationship or that person, and just take a look at that, because you can set any boundary you want for yourself, and your boundaries will change as you grow through your healing process, and evolve into whoever you're supposed to become. Your boundaries change over time. They're set to help you through time periods, and then some boundaries you may have that you may no longer need.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's just a process.
Yeah, you grow with it. You really do. And they're unique to you. And that's why self-evaluation is important with establishing boundaries. Like what I mean by self-evaluation is what works for me. What doesn't work for me? Why do I have this boundary? I mean, really
Right.
dive in, because I would tell myself all the time, I ghost people because it's not that the vibe wasn't a match.
Yeah.
We just ain't vibing the same. But there's a way to allow to communicate with people without, because some people are suffering from abandonment issues. You don't
Yeah.
want to add to that. You don't
Right.
want to add to that. So I learned that it's not ever personal. It's not ever personal, and that's something that I'm constantly dealing with each and every day. It's not personal because I am a heart-centered person. So when somebody does something, it pulls on my heartstrings sometimes if I care about that person. So I'm learning each and every day that it's It's not personal. But just, and it's the same way with your boundaries. They're personal to you, but no one else. So that's why
Right.
Nani was saying you don't have to explain yourself to nobody. You owe no one an explanation about why you need to uphold boundaries.
Yeah.
Why you have this boundary. Now, if you really care, or if you feel like that person is interested in learning why, because some people operate behind the why. Like I remember I would tell people to come in my home, but they couldn't wear shoes. People automatically assume, oh, baby, she think a house too good, and da 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 da. And then when I got to explaining to them why, but I'm like, if these are guests in my home, maybe they should know why they're taking off their shoes, because maybe I'm crossing a boundary for them. So
Right.
I would explain to them this is an energetic thing, and this is why I do this. We have a toddler that's crawling around with her hands on the floor. We're trying to minimize the germs because she put her hands in the mouth. Like when people know the why, because you don't know where they're what is going to provoke. That's going to provoke. Take your shoes off. For me, I automatically think, back old school, back at the
Right.
house, people be like, oh baby, she thinks she too good. We can't walk in there. We can't take our shoes on at the door, baby. She tripping. But it's
Right.
not the case. It's just for the wellness for my family and the energetic vibration. My
And
house is a
and
very healing space.
even if that was the case, so
And but you know what? I felt the need to explain that to the people who would be in my home. Now
no,
to an everyday stranger, baby, please, somebody
yeah,
come over here to fix something. I'm not stuck with you
uh,
care. But if somebody's gonna be in my home, I want my guests to feel comfortable.
mhm,
I want them to feel welcome, and I don't want to seem like I'm somebody who sits high and look low. So to not to say that I'm catering to maybe their thought system or whatever, but if it's going to be productive for our relationship and help the space to be more open, make them feel more at home, then I'll take the time to explain. But you just got to know the when and the why. I'm not explaining to myself to any and everybody. And you should get in the habit of not doing it, because you can explain yourself till you blue in your face. And they still had the option to not even hear nothing you said.
right.
So, and you're just going to get frustrated. You're just going to
Yeah,
get frustrated. So
gotta learn who's worth the conversation.
facts,
Hmm.
facts, facts. Empress Night Nia says that's very true about ghosting and abandonment. Yes, yes, it is very true. People like I was good on it. I was good with relationships, all type of relationships, intimate relationships, friends, jobs, you name it. You pissed me off, I was out of there.
So
Peace.
find
But
that did you find that you were dealing with abandonment issues, and that is what you know had you in that fight or flight response, ghosting and that sort?
absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. That is what triggered it. I was projecting. I was simply projecting. What you do on the outside is nothing more. People be feeling like energy don't lie, some stuff that's far-fetched. It's true.
I def-
Whatever you project in your relationships, whether it be with your kids, your job, your career, with yourself, it is going to show. So that's exactly what I was dealing with. Abandonment issues and didn't even know it, honey. So I was out here ghosting everybody because
right,
that's what I was used to. That's what I was comfortable with. That's how I communicated. That's
right,
what was communicated with me. That's all I knew. I didn't know any. That was a survival tactic. Get the hell out of here. That ain't how you operate in divinity. That's not may I, but I was operating in survival mode. But when you know
mm,
better, you do better. And I recognize, hey, all these people I'm ghosting, and it's me. I'm the common denominator, and that self-evaluation, that self-accountability. I wouldn't have known that if I not checked myself. I could have been out here still pointing the finger. Oh, baby, her vibe ain't right. No,
right,
no, no, no. Everybody ain't gonna agree with everything you say. Everybody's not gonna be in alignment with everything you do. They're not meant to be. We have to learn to coexist. Let's say, hey, everything ain't for everybody. I love you, but from over there. But you ain't got to just straight up ghost people. You can communicate. Hey, when you speak to me or when this happens, I feel, or you make me feel this way, or I'm feeling this type of way. And from there, you let that person respond. What they decide to do with it, they do with it. You know what I'm saying? You just got to operate accordingly. But I learned that ghosting people was a very immature behavior. It was something that I learned at a very early age that I
yeah,
had to grow up from. And I'm
yeah,
not afraid to speak about it, honey. I'm glad I can speak about it because a lot of people still operating there thinking no new friends. I'm independent. We need people.
yeah.
It says some people are crazy, baby,
On the
baby.
ghosting subject, I just wanted to say, there's even a boundary within that, because it's like if you express to someone multiple times what the issue is, what boundary they're crossing with you, and how it's making you feel, and they continue to choose to act in those manners and behaviors, to me, I feel it's totally fine at that point to disconnect, and you don't have to keep over explaining like why you're disconnecting. You know,
Yeah, and that's at that point, that's not ghosting.
that's
That's
not.
I told you, baby, and I just got to create more boundaries.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got to put up more
I just,
boundaries.
yep. I just had to put that out there because for me, as an empath and as somebody who really, comes from a people pleasing past, and I had to work on that. I used to feel like, well, I just gotta tell him one more time, like, you know what I mean? And it's like, no, you didn't told him 5 times already, and this is the same behavior. You know what I mean? And at that point, you have to become accountable for self and protect self, and choose to remove yourself. Like you can't force someone to respect your boundaries, but you definitely can control how you respond and protect yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that is setting boundaries. That's how you do that for
Right?
sure. It's full
Some,
circle.
some
I
people.
just think about. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was reading the comments. She said some people are crazy. I'm like, yeah, for sure.
Listen, we get a little bit of everything, like trail mix.
Yeah.
We love the crazies too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to I think about different types of boundaries. Um, I think that people need to be aware that boundaries exist and that they have that type of power. I look at boundaries as like a way to take your power back and take up space. People always talking about take up space. Sis. This is a way to take up space. Making your presence known, what I like, what I dislike, what works for me, what doesn't work for me. And like you said, you outgrow boundaries. Boundaries change because you change, you
Right.
evolve. What used to work for you when you had this type of lifestyle doesn't work for you now because you have this type of lifestyle. So it's different, and you just got to continue to be present and self-evaluate. So again, let's just recap. It's important to set boundaries because one, it's a way of providing self-care and self-respect. You got to respect yourself first. Again, from the inside out, you can't respect people wholeheartedly. You can fake like it to a certain extent. It's gonna come out.
Right.
Like you loving on people, you respecting people. If you're not doing it for yourself first, people love. A brother was speaking yesterday about twin flames and soulmates, and he was like, people love getting out here talking about twin flames and soulmates, but what inner work are you doing? What inside work are you doing? Because what you're doing is projecting right now. You're showing a level of I need somebody to depend on. I need somebody to lean on. I can't do this by myself. Are you liking you? Are you dating you? And I date myself each and every day. I got in the mirror yesterday and I washed my hair and I twisted my hair. And as I did it, I sang affirmations to myself. I listened to the music that I like to listen to, do things that I would want to do with myself if I was another person dating myself. And that is how you build a solid freaking foundation in your relationships, because you're able to then operate in authority because you built yourself up. You're not out here waiting on nobody else to do anything. Now, my husband is amazing. He's great at loving on me. Sometimes a little too much, but I also have to have it for myself because I know at any given moment things are subject to change within any, whatever. So I have to still have that foundation of self, and I also show him how I need to be loved or how I choose to be loved on this day or at this hour by loving up myself and filling up myself first, getting started with myself first thing. And the first thing I did was serve him. When I woke up in the day, I would be no good to either him or myself because I don't even know who I am at that moment. I didn't change while I was sleeping. So I'm a new person, and I'm gonna get up and serve somebody else outside of me before I serve myself and decide what it is that I need to navigate my day. Boundaries establish self-respect and self-care. So people in my house respect my boundary of knowing that mom needs her time when she first gets up to do her stretches, her yoga, her music, her dancing, or whatever it is before she gets started, because she loves on us so much, but she
Right.
got to give herself there first so they know how I operate. Because these folks in here done seen me without that me time, and they don't like it that much. So they like, oh yeah, let's give her that me time so we flow up in here, because she got to feel herself up, not to be frustrated. And because I wear a lot of hats, so practice self-care by filling you up and having boundaries. Set boundaries. And here for me is I got to have my tea and whatever it is that I'm craving, whatever type of meditation I'm craving that day before I get started. That's a boundary that I have in the house. We're going to talk about different type of boundaries here in a second. um It also communicates my needs in a relationship. I'll use the same example with my family. My needs are that I need to tap in with myself first. My needs are that I need to fill my cup, whether it is with the tea or, listening to my music, taking a healing bath or whatever it is at the start of my day. And I'll let my family know, hey, I'm here, I'm tapped in, y'all. So they know that it communicates what I need.
Yeah.
So they know, like, the why. And, this is something that's important to her. And this is why, when we talked about explaining things to people, and in this case, I would explain this to my family because I spend a considerable amount of time with them. So I need to let them know why this boundary is important for me.
Right.
And then it makes time for space and positive interactions. Absolutely. Like I just said, when I fill myself up, I'm so much more better for my family. I'm more energized. I'm in a better mood. My vibes are high. I'm more open-minded. I'm more creative. Everybody benefits. Everybody benefits. And then it also sets limits in the relationship that way that's healthy. So people ain't just intruding all over you. I had to set a boundary with my son the other day. He grabbed my phone and he was actually trying to find a photo, but he was going through my messages and I was like, no, that is a boundary cross, son. And I let him know why. I was like, I don't grab your phone and go through your messages. I trust you. And you give me vibes that you ain't out here doing crazy stuff. So, give me the same type of respect and don't cross that boundary for me, son. And he was very, very, like, he was a little bit ashamed at first. And that wasn't my intention, but I wanted him to know that wasn't okay. That's my personal space. I might want to be sexting husband or something. So you all of my stuff. You gonna see something you don't want to see. Back up.
Right.
But seriously, that's just my personal space. I write notes, I journal. Sometimes I put my thoughts in there, and that's just a space that's for me.
Yeah.
My husband doesn't even touch my phone like that, so it's crazy. I don't want anybody going through my stuff like
And
that. It's very
sometimes
personal, intimate.
you have to teach people how to treat you. Everybody doesn't come equipped or mind can read your mind. So sometimes you do have to um be okay with teaching people how to treat you. And that comes into doing work with being okay with dealing with conflict, because that conversation may or may not always be pleasant. So you have to be okay with, um, setting the boundary despite how someone else feels, even a child, a parent, a spouse, like it's going to be okay. You can agree to disagree, but respect my boundary, you know?
Yes, yes, and that is so true. I mean, you may feel guilty at first. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, I remember when I first started, like, even knowing what boundaries look like, what they were. Excuse me, implementing them into my life. I felt bad. I was like, oh, I want to go back and apologize.
Yeah.
If I apologize, then I'm then giving that person the okay to say to treat me that way or
Exactly.
to do that thing because that was out of trauma responding to over apologetic. Always apologize. That's a self-esteem issue. You ain't did nothing wrong. Don't apologize for being you.
Right.
Don't apologize for being you. So, I would, feel bad because people would react however. And that's why you gotta release yourself from the outcome.
Right.
However you choose to react to my boundary is on you, not
Yeah.
on me. That takes practice, especially with those you love, because you want to see them happy. You want to see them feeling good. And if something you said or did made them feel a kind of way, you want to make it right. But it's not fair to you to make that right. And then you compromising your self-esteem. You're compromising a boundary in order to make them feel good. Then you don't win. Nobody wins in that because it's not a fair trade-off. So I've learned to really, really hold firm, no matter who it is. Like you were saying, you can't, mama, uncle, cousin, sister, spouse, you got to maintain. If it's a boundary that you're firm with, like I remember me and my husband, when we first got together, like we would, we would, like, that was our thing. We would pig out on like candy, like Laffy Taffy was our favorite thing, and now and later, because we were just big kids, man. Kids at heart. We started dating, like knowing each other when we were kids. So it was just nostalgia. It felt good to go back to those innocent times, but it wasn't so innocent to our teeth, and it wasn't good for us.
Right.
So I got away from it. My husband still has a sweet tooth sometimes, and he'll try to reel me in. Baby, I got these. No, no, I ain't doing it. And so I have to maintain that boundary. Let him know,
Yeah.
listen, I know this is what we used to do, but I don't need you crossing that boundary because sometimes I'm tempted to eat those things, and then I regret eating them, and then it's no fun, and then I'm cranky, and then you're like, okay, I shouldn't have done that, and then we go repeat this whole cycle. Let's just don't offer me that, please. You know that you like to enjoy that. You can enjoy it. You don't have to enjoy it with me. I'm still here, honey. You can chew your now later and be, good. So like you have to, everybody, that same boundary stands for everybody. And I remember my mom, I told this story, I think in another podcast, she came and my kids are not, they don't eat sugar like that. And that's for my nerves, that's for their health. Like you give a kid some sugar and tell them to sit down somewhere, it ain't gonna happen. You give my kids sugar, it's like something you've seen off of TV. They like Sonic the Hedgehog. So I don't give them sugar because that takes a great amount of energy to, keep track of two small kids and run around with, they don't sleep, like they be on go. So when she came, she took my little one to the store, and he's so cute, like he'll swindle you to get anything, and he knew grandma wasn't around like that, because they live away from me in Memphis. And so he was like, I'm gonna try and get these cakes, and he didn't, swindle her into buying little Debbie cakes, and he come out the store with a whole box of cakes, just skinning and grinning. And I'm like, Mama, why did you buy it? Oh, it's fine. And I'm like, no, Mama, we can't have it. And I was like, Mama, he can't have those. And she was like, but it's just, and I'm like, no, Mama, I love you so much, and I know your intention was good, but he cannot have those because you ain't gonna get no sleep in me either. So let's just not. And he gonna be around here itching. Let's not. Don't do it. So boundaries are very important because it could even mean like your health, your well-being, like emotional and physical well-being. So there are different types of boundaries, and we're going to talk about two here, but there are so many different types: physical and emotional boundaries. So we talk about physical boundaries like the cakes that I just explained, and the phone that my son was going through. Things like sexual boundaries, like people walking. I remember we used to walk in the on Beale Street. If you're from Memphis, Tennessee, you know what I'm talking about. We used to call it the meat market, baby. Go put on your finest threads. You stand out there, see who go holler, who you gonna holler at. But we used to be out there like just kicking it, listening to good music. It was a vibe. It was a thing that we did. But I remember so many men they would cross boundaries of grabbing your hand or putting their hands around your waist or touching you without your permission. And it happened so much. Like some people would be ready to fight. I mean, you don't know what kind of mood somebody's in. Like they out here trying to catch a vibe and you touching on them. You are crossing a boundary. That is a boundary. Don't let people touch all over you. Some people, some people are okay with that. You can grab them, you can touch them, and they're fine with that. But a lot of people aren't. And I don't think that, those guys, or maybe they did know that they were crossing boundaries, but that is a direct violation.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can, be mindful of your physical boundaries, way people talk to you. I know I have a boundary as coming out of a couple relationships with domestic violence in my younger years. I don't people yelling at me. Oh no, we don't communicate like that because I don't hear you. All I see is somebody yelling in my face. I don't hear nothing you just said to me. So I just done went mute. Ain't no sense of us even having this communication right now. So I'm gonna excuse myself. And I've learned to do that in a way to where it doesn't continue to trigger the person, or I try not to at least. But you're not gonna yell at me. I don't care who you are, where you're from, what you do. You yell at me, that's the moment that I check out because it is a direct violation. That's a barrier for me. Don't yell at me. I feel like whatever you can say to me, you can say with a calm tone. And I can get it, and we can work this thing out. But yelling, you will get nowhere with me. I'm telling you. My cousin got mad at me a little while ago because she was upset about something, and she called me, and she really didn't mean any harm, but she was yelling, and I was like, "Click up." And she was like, "Girl, you hung up on me." I sure did, and it was out of love because you kept
Right.
yelling, and it wouldn't have been pretty for
Right.
either of us. But I didn't hear what you were saying, sis, and I was trying to get you to calm down, and you kept yelling. So I got your attention by saying bye, by taking my attention away. I ain't talking to you when you're gonna be. I don't do exchanges like that.
Right.
That's one of my boundaries. What are some of your physical boundaries, Nani?
Um, I'll give you one with my daughter because she's been
Mm-hmm.
to me. We do the whole homeschool thing and everything, so it's just me and her most of the time. Um, and a physical boundary would be I had to really tell her like, okay, when I'm in the bathroom, let me be. Like she want to stand in there and talk to me and follow me in. I'm like, this is one space where I'm setting a boundary. You can't follow me in here. Just whatever you have to say, whatever you feel, hold it, and we'll address it when I come out. But she kind of takes that as her but I had to realize like because I'm so busy, you know what I mean. She kind of takes that as, oh, mom got a minute. Let me go get that minute from her.
Yeah.
But I had to teach her. I'm like, no, we can make time and space elsewhere. This is my minute, okay? This is my my time for me. So that's a physical boundary that I have. And then also one thing that I, even since I was younger, I've always had a problem with people doing this, patting me,
Uh-huh.
not pat me. Don't pat me to get attention. Like, you're gonna have to wait if I'm not addressing you right at that time. Like, don't pat me. So that is a that's a physical boundary of mine as well. Um yeah, those are, I mean, I don't have too many anymore because of how I've evolved in myself. But one thing I did on my boundary I had in the beginning of my spiritual journey was I didn't let people touch me at all. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I had to really like know you or feel like, even people that I actually knew, you don't hug me. You know what I mean? It's not anything personal. I was just so new to the empath life and so open and so confused by everyone else's energy. It was like, don't touch me, please. And it offended some people sometimes, but I had to be okay with that because it was about protecting me and where I was at the time. And I would explain it, like you said, to those who I felt needed to know. And it's like, it's not nothing personal when I feel like I can open myself up to others' energy in that way by touch. And, I'm just super sensitive. So don't take it personal. When I'm a little more evolved and when I know how to protect myself better, then I can be more physical interacting with people. But right now I'm not there. So it's about being real with yourself, where you're at with yourself and where you're at with others. And the people that are around you should support that for your well-being. And if they don't, then reevaluate for sure.
Yes, yes. I love that. I love that example. And I really think back again, going back to, just evaluating self and not feeling bad about holding up those boundaries and knowing that it is not personal. You don't know where that person is in their journey. Just have compassion, send them love. Bird Gang 31, shout out to VGN, says, what's up, ladies? Grand Rising, happy 4th, y'all. What's up, Jinx Wolf? What's up? Happy 4th, happy 4th. All right, so those are some types of physical boundaries, like personal space, personal belongings, your privacy, being able to hold a conversation without somebody listening in or going through your text messages. That's a boundary. That's a boundary. Just having space that's just for you. So it, other examples, inappropriate advances, going through your somebody else's text messages, like I said, or
Eating,
barging in somebody's room. I'm sorry, go
eating,
ahead.
eating your food without asking, using your
Ooh.
thing, touching them without permission. Like that's another one for me. Like if I go to get something and I can't find it because someone else has, oh, that's gonna set me up, okay? Like, because I know I didn't leave it over there. But yeah, that's the personal boundary I have as well. Like I'm super selfless and I'm super giving. Like you can ask me and I will give you, but don't take away my choice or my permission. You know what I mean? Like let me give it.
I think being a mom helped me learn to just let people touch my stuff because I have like my things. I'm super giving, like you said as well. But
Yeah.
I have my things that like don't touch that. And
Yeah.
then, so if somebody touched my stuff, I'd be like, why? But you had like that's a boundary for me as well. I
Yeah.
have my things that are mommy things or just Z things. Don't touch that. And
Right.
like you got things that's for the collective, personal space, important things that are just it's really, really important. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I love that. And like, especially with kids, people don't think you got to definitely have boundaries with kids. Like you said, your daughter barges in the bathroom. It's because mommy is always there. So it's like, what boundary?
Right.
Mama here, she got a free minute. I'm, I'm gonna take
Right.
advantage. So it's
Right.
like, but it's important that you operate in, having boundaries with everybody, even the kids, especially the kids, because you start to lose yourself in parenting, mothering, fathering when you don't establish what you like and what you don't like. I always use the example as well about my diet. I was going to the restaurants and just eating sides and stuff, going to places, spending money that I ain't like. I don't want to eat this stuff, but I could see them eating their favorite foods and enjoying what they want to do. But I don't deserve that. So I
Right.
started speaking up for myself. Nah, we ain't going here. No, ma'am. I'm done eating French fries. No. So like
Right.
I really had to like really lay the law down when we would eat out. We don't do that often, but they would pick spaces and not consider me because I was the minority. But I'm like, nah, I'm taking up space. We're gonna make a decision that's good for
Exactly.
everybody, you
And
know.
And that's how you help raise conscious children to become conscious individuals and to, you know, respect other people and not be, you know, it's a lot of narcissism going around and it's becoming very rampant. And I think that's just because um, these fundamental values are not being taught, like how to respect people's boundaries and being conscious of other people's feelings. That's the lesson that I'm really going through with my daughter as we speak, because um, she's very wrapped up in self, you know, as a lot of kids are. But I have to slow her down sometimes and I have to say, well, did you think about how that was going to make someone else feel? You know,
Mhm.
think about how that was going to affect the people around you. You know, you always have to be conscious of your surroundings and of self. So can't just always be about self, especially when other people are involved. So yeah.
Facts, facts. Um, so there we have it with our physical boundaries, but I think it kind of bleeds off into emotional boundaries as
Yeah.
well. And I think that what I see most with, I'll just talk about like my line of work. I support birthing women and families that are looking to get pregnant, and of course that's a decision that usually a family makes. You know, like this, they make decisions together, like who's going to be on the birthing team, or who's going to, be with mom after she gives birth, or different, what setting are we going to give birth in. It's usually not not one person making those decisions. So I see a lot of emotional boundaries being crossed. It's basically allowing another person to manipulate you with their words, with their thoughts, or their actions. And sometimes it's like a person you could make like, I need you to do this, or as my partner, I am expecting you to do this, or whatever, however you want to communicate it to them, and they just shut down on you. They don't say nothing. They'll just, not that is, that's being manipulative. And a
Yeah.
lot of people will be like, well, let me just conform to them because I don't want them mad at me. Things like that. So when you allow yourself to not have boundaries, not allow yourself to not have boundaries. When you don't have emotional boundaries, you really are affected. Your entire life is affected by the words and the thoughts and the actions of other people. And so you end up living your life through the lens of somebody else. You
Right.
end up living your life through the belief systems of somebody else. And that may not even necessarily work for you. So it's self-evaluation. We always come back here to this point. You got to know what works for you. For me, I had to leave my home state of Memphis, Tennessee, because I had so many emotional boundaries being crossed. I didn't even know what they were. I didn't even know I was being violated until
Yeah.
I got out and started. Like, I didn't hear the chatter anymore. I had to get away. I made a post the other day. I went and lived in New Hampshire for about 3 months. And there I wasn't able to hear people telling me what way I should go, or what was good, what was bad, make decisions for me, or make me feel bad about making decisions that were best for me. So I would call it my God self, because I was literally getting to know me, operating in what worked best for me, not what worked best for those around me. I wasn't
Yeah.
living my life for them anymore. So that was my experience with having to put up emotional boundaries. So some examples is like basically not knowing how to separate your feelings from the next person's, whether it's your partner, your mama, your daddy, or just saying what my mama said, or I know my grandmama and them do, and they gonna say, I know that's codependency. That's
Yeah.
codependency. You're making decisions dependent upon what somebody else is going to say or do. So that's not independent thinking.
Right.
So, you got to separate your feelings from somebody else. So while our actions affect other people, and we definitely need to take that into consideration, even with our communication, we need to know that we have to remain true to ourselves first and foremost.
Right.
Right? Because otherwise you're violating yourself and you're becoming somebody that you're not, and you're
Yeah.
not in alignment when you do that.
And
Um,
that and
mhm.
and that your feelings are valid. You know what I mean? It's that's a big thing too with emotional boundaries. It's like you're allowed to feel how you feel, and the next person, you know, really shouldn't tell you that you can't feel how you feel. And you know that goes into gaslighting and like you were talking about emotional manipulation and all of those things. It's like you don't you're allowed to have your own personal feelings about things, you know. Now, yes, you have to really be accountable for where those feelings are stemming from, because no one is responsible for how you feel.
Mhm.
So that's the fine line too. However, if you are dealing with someone in any type of relationship and you're telling them that something that they're doing bothers you, or you know makes doesn't make you feel good, and you know they're writing it off like, nah, you don't feel like that, that's a point of invalidation. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where you have to put your boundary wall up and say, no, I do feel like this. It's valid, whether you want to acknowledge it or not.
Facts. It's
So
valid to me. It's
yeah,
valid to me. And that's
that's
what
all.
matters.
Yeah, that's all that matters. And you can stand on that. You know what I mean? And then let that dictate your choices. Don't shrink because someone else is telling you, you shouldn't have been mad about that, or that was nothing, or, like, because people do that often. Like,
Yeah.
that about that? Like, yes, I am. Like,
Yeah.
or you can keep it moving because yes, I am, and I'm standing on that. I'm allowed to be upset about that. So, um, yeah, just taking your power back in those type of ways, and you don't have to convince anyone that how you feeling is valid either. You're allowed to feel how you feel, and that person is allowed to not understand.
Facts.
And there doesn't have to even be too much of a, but what it does have to happen is that person has to at least acknowledge that's how, if their behavior is causing it, they have to acknowledge that, okay, am I willing to change this behavior for this person? And that's where, that goes into with relationships and things of that nature.
Maintaining balance in your relationship. It starts with self.
Yeah.
And if you don't value yourself, then you're not going to value what you feel. You're not going to value what you think. And then you start to value what others think. And then guess what? You become them and not you. Or you become
Yeah.
a collection of other thoughts and you just in a whirlwind like a tornado because you're getting pulled right and left. And I speak this from a space of experience because that was me. For a long time, people told me it's unintentional. Yes, absolutely. Peace Netter. He said, we honor those around us by honoring ourselves.
Yeah.
Facts, because it starts with self. You can't give anybody something you ain't got. You can fake it. I see a lot of people trying to fake it, and it exposes like all you gotta do is sit and listen to somebody talk long enough.
Yeah.
All you gotta do is evaluate their relationships around them. And not to say people can't hit hard times or nothing, but if somebody's always in hard times, if
Right.
somebody's always in turmoil and fighting and battling people, it says a lot. It
Right.
says a lot. Yes, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in. I gotta catch up with my Facebook people, my Facebook fan. Um, but yes, it's very, very, very important. Those emotional boundaries. I see a lot of that being crossed just out of trauma, out of fear, out of fear. A lot of people don't do that. I know when I was making the decision to birth out of the hospital at home, people were like, I had to cut off like talking to people. I was loving them and sending them
Yeah.
a text message, hey, I'm alive, I'm good, love y'all, we all right. And then just tapping back out because energy is real, and they would
Yeah.
start to
But
portray that, project their fears, project their concerns on me when they didn't even exist. But if that's the dominant energy, you're gonna start to feel some of that. So I'm
right.
like, I don't need that. I gotta be pinpoint focused, and I gotta be laser focused on what I'm doing right now. I'm doing something that I've never done before in my life, so I gotta make sure that I'm on point, and I can't let nobody else's feelings intrude that. Same way in the birthing spaces, a lot of people want their whole family present, but some people like this lady crazy in the back of their mind while they're watching you birth on your living room floor. That energy is present and it affects the birth.
Yeah.
So you got to be just really, really mindful of, emotional manipulation and how
Yeah.
people truly, truly feel, because it resonates in their being, it resonates in their relationships, how they are or how they feel about themselves. I learned that firsthand with being in the South, racism, something that I don't even hone in on anymore because I know what it is now. It's self-hate.
Exactly.
Self-hate. They hating things outside of them or trying to find something to hate more than they hate themselves. So they
Yeah.
try to devalue people or find anything, and it's really a weak space to be in. So I'm no longer angry at them people. I send them love. I send them more love than the average person because they need it. They way deep down in there. So I
Right.
don't give you any hate or rage or how dare you treat my no. I don't give you any of my attention or my energy that way because it's valuable. And I'm not
Right.
going to lower my vibration because of that. And that's a boundary I have. I can love you from over there, but I'm going to send you love because I know what I send out, I'm just going to get back. So why
Exactly.
would I send you hate? you know
Exactly.
so
Yep.
I learned to definitely get through that. Ryan Colden said great information, I'm loving it, in all of these gems. Absolutely. So we talked about the physical and the emotional boundaries. We need to have a balance of both, not too rigid, not too loose, but what works for us. When you start to feel uncomfortable in your body, when you get around people and feel anxious, when somebody asks you a specific question or talk about specific things, you start squirming and feeling away. That's something we need to work on. So I feel boundaries and shadow work. If y'all didn't check out last week's episode, go hand in hand, because you got to know what's you and what's trauma.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was a strong ass woman, so I had to give. Man, I can stand by myself. I don't need these folks. Oh, you gonna act crazy? Bye. But it was just me running away and not dealing with conflict.
Yeah.
I didn't want to deal with conflict. That's not strength.
Yeah.
Anybody can run away, sit there and talk about it, or attempt to at least. That's where the power lies.
Yeah.
Because the other on the other side of that could be everything that you dream of, or just a simple misunderstanding.
Yep.
Communication. So I had to mature in my communication. So absolutely, we need to have a balance of
Yeah.
emotional boundaries, physical boundaries, and doing our shadow work to know what's our shit and what's some trauma that we done picked up along the way and we need to release. Okay,
Exactly.
what's truly us.
Make
Um,
make sure we know what are healthy boundaries. You know what I mean? People, we got to start there, because a lot of people don't even know what are healthy boundaries, because people think ghosting is a healthy boundary. It's not. You know what I mean? So, um,
I'm glad you said that, because I got some pointers on what unhealthy boundaries and what healthy boundaries look like. Let's
yeah,
plug in real quick. So if you got just some key indicators of healthy boundaries, it'll make you feel like you have high self-esteem and high self-respect, like you're being respected, you're being honored, you're not just being tolerated. That's
right.
when your boundaries are being upheld.
And
When you can,
on,
mhm.
I was going to say real quick, anybody that is speaking to you or throwing shade, quote unquote, that is them crossing the boundary subliminally, basically. That shade, or saying something in a joking manner, like, jokes be having some truth to them. So if somebody says something about you and they're like, I'm just kidding, we got, don't take that too lightly, because like you were saying earlier, that is a representation of how they really feel, on the inside.
And if someone does cross that boundary, one, you can choose not to even tune in, but you can also say, "Hey, when you say that, I know that it comes across as you joking, but it makes me feel."
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's okay. Or if somebody throw a shade. First of all, I don't. I just learned not to respect anything that's indirect. If somebody throwing subliminals, that's out of fear. That's
For,
because they don't want to have a conversation and they want to tell Facebook and not the person they had a problem with, or they don't know how to communicate the issue. So I don't really address that because it's a low vibrating energy. But if you feel the need to, you can let them know, hey, since I know we had this interaction a couple days ago and I saw your post, is there something we need to discuss or talk about? We got to learn how to communicate with people.
exactly.
We
Or
got to and know that everything ain't meant to be taken offense to, because it ain't personal.
right. Or not even necessarily even react or even address it, but it's just more so awareness of those around you and how they're receiving you and the energy that they're putting back into you, more so than anything. Those are just some, I would say, maybe pointers or red flags, in relating with others, to where if they're relating with you in these manners, maybe just reevaluate or look into that relationship a little closer. Like, what is the root of it, because all of that can be unintentional emotional manipulation.
It
You-
can, if you, and especially if you feel a certain way after communicating with that person or being around that person or interacting with that person. If it doesn't feel good, don't force what doesn't fit.
exactly.
In any way that y'all may communicate. So that's a very good point that you bring up. Another key indicator of healthy boundaries is sharing personal information gradually. Sometimes if you share too much too soon, or you don't want to tell none of your business, that's okay. But it means that it's somewhere you feel you're not safe, or you feel not trusting. And I learned to trust people when I learned to trust myself. People always out here thinking somebody hexing them or out to get them, is because it's self-sabotage.
Right.
They're projecting what they feel or things that they may do to others because of how they feel about themselves. So they sometimes people withhold things, or, oh, well, I'm gonna do this, or I ain't gonna tell that. And by all means, you keep your manifestations as your babies in the dark. But at the same time, you communicate with people. You know how many times I was blessed with opportunities because I was sharing with people things that I wanted to do. I had a friend, I told her one time, we was on the phone just talking stuff, and I said, girl, you know what I would love to be doing right now? In Miami and Jazz in the Gardens. And you better believe a couple of months later, when it came around, this lady had bought us tickets. So, like, even being open and being free and childlike enough to know I'm safe. I can share my dreams, goals, and aspirations with certain people or whom I choose. I don't have to always sit on this. And I was bad about that because I didn't trust myself. But when I share with other people, I inspire them. They pour into me. It really benefits the collective. Not everything is meant to be shared, no, but having balance again. So when you have healthy boundaries, you gradually share information. You don't spill all the beans and wide open, leave that door wide open. But you exercise, boundaries, but you don't have them too rigid either, so where you just closed in and it's just, you keeping things to yourself and sitting
Right.
on it, not moving, because sometimes sharing things, people give you that added motivation you need to go forward with it.
Right.
Protecting your physical and emotional space from intrusion. Like I said, when I get up, baby getting up a little early, and I know I ain't tapped in. My husband knows, like we've communicated enough to where he knows if baby gets up before mama's done yoga, let me get baby, and then I can continue my thing because I get up super early. He'll get up and get her because he know it benefits the whole house when
Yeah.
she's able to do her thing. So protecting my physical and emotional space. That's just me using a personal example. Having an equal partnership where responsibility and power are shared. I feel like this is in all the relationships, especially with children. This is missed. We feel like we are the bosses of them. We do guide and direct them, but kids have their own mind. Trust and believe me, so many people out here don't know what to do with their kids right now because they have their own minds. Listen to these children. They are beings. They have souls. They have emotions, and it's not for us to just devalue them. If someone says they don't want you to do something, hey baby, let's take a picture. Mom, I don't want to take a picture. Well, maybe there's a reason why. Not, oh, you finna take this picture. Listen, just respect people boundaries. If they don't want to take a picture right now, maybe you need to put the camera down to extra person, son, daughter. Hey, what's going on? You usually like to take photos. What's going on? Like, let's talk about it. Or maybe it's something they want to share, or maybe not. But respect that boundary, especially if you want yours to be respected. Don't
Right.
expect the kids to uphold to do something that you're not doing.
Right.
Lead by example, and that means respecting their boundaries. Before I go in my son's room, I knock on the door. For his sake and mine, I don't want to know what's going on the other side of that door. He's a teenager, for goodness sake. But I also keep, of course, I monitor my child, but it doesn't mean me kicking down the doors like the police.
Right.
I
There's
can
still
watch, come on now. That's his private, personal space. When I was his age, I didn't want that happening to me. I don't want that happening to me now. So why would I do that to him? It
right.
doesn't matter who it is. We uphold the boundary, whether it's mama, uncle, cousin, little bitty baby, whoever it is, we uphold that boundary. Especially when people know better.
Yeah.
Be assertive. You got to truthfully say yes or no, and be okay when people must respect that no. They ain't got to be okay with it. They ain't got to agree with it. They can huff and puff. That ain't your business. Honor your no. You said no for a reason. Don't go back. Well, maybe I should. Respect your no, and other people, excuse me, will do the same. They'll fall in line and respect your no as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And then going back to the other thing that we said earlier, separating your needs and your thoughts, your feelings and desires from others. I like to go to the beach, but I don't think today is a good day because it's really hot and the kids don't do well with the heat out there. But that's me compromising my beach day because of the kid. Now, as a mother, I ain't going out there. My baby's gonna be hot, and no, let's spend the day together. But that's also something you to make. If you do that too much, you lose yourself. If
Right.
you never go to the beach because it's too hot out there and the babies don't like the heat, well, then sometimes you got to make time for you to go on your own because you can tolerate the heat. And that's what I did. Personal story again, all up in my business today. But that's what I did. I was able to, hey, we can't all get out there as a family every day, but days that I can get out there and, do my thing and come home, let me get out there and recharge. It's my happy space. And they honor that. They honor that. And I'm not just this person sitting on no throne telling people what to do around this house. I also pour into them, y'all, for those who wonder, like they do a lot of stuff for you.
It's
Yes, to whom much is given, much is required.
it's mutual. Yeah, I was about to say it's mutual, and that it should be your support system. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not having a mutual exchange of energy and respect, and love, you know what I mean, then is it really a supportive network,
It's
Um,
imbalance.
yeah, so we have to be okay with, and that's the thing too, like we can't set boundaries and still want the old energy to stay.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
to be okay with releasing what doesn't serve us, and that a lot of times comes with boundaries. And I find that's why it's hard for people to stick with and stand on their boundaries, because they're like, oh well, if I do that, then I'm gonna lose this person for sure. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, did they need to stay really? Because you sacrificing yourself to have them around.
Facts. That is
So
so true. And if they really are for you, then what they'll do is, hey, this I'm gonna hear her out. I'm gonna hear this person out and
exactly,
let me see how I can acclimate. Now, no compromise because sometimes your needs they just can't meet your needs or what
exactly,
you require, and that's okay. And we don't create division. We can just be in love, and hey, I love you, but this is what I am requiring.
right,
Ain't no love lost, and we got to operate in that for real. A lot of people say that and still be treating people stanky, and you ain't got to be buddy buddy with them. If it didn't work out, friendship, relationship, or whatever, don't go around hating people. It's too much energy expended hating folks and being ugly. Just say, hey, I recognize what I need. It ain't, in alignment with what you offering. Let's keep it moving and pushing. May the next person be, better or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Somebody
yeah,
just said, some moments is simply to reveal what you need to know and need to know where a person is internally. Some moments we can help them, others we cannot. Either it's okay. That's right. Don't judge it. Either it's okay if we can help them or if we can't. Because somebody got to choose to help themselves first. We can be
right,
a catalyst for change. We can hear
right,
something that spark something with us, but we as women, we love to try to fix people. We're
yeah,
nurturers. We fix a lot of things, but we really can fix those around us if we just work on ourselves. We
yeah,
deserve that energy.
yeah.
We deserve that attention. We deserve that love. So
I,
internalize it. I know a lot of people love to get out and be like, "Let me do this. I'm a healer. Let me touch you. Let me. You can touch the hem. You heal people by healing yourself. They watch. They take notes. You learn things and you can teach.
right,
But people, people do what they do. Let's get into real quick some unhealthy boundaries, some signs and symptoms. Look at my nursing background coming out of unhealthy boundaries. Some things you might notice in some relationships, and this don't mean throw the whole man away. This
right,
don't mean throw the whole woman away. This means that a person may or may not know what a boundary is. They may or may not know that they're in violation. But
yeah,
what you can do is bring it to their awareness and allow them to make a decision to do right by you, and then you reciprocate their energy or not. Sometimes they're in alignment, sometimes they not, just like our friend just said. And if they not, either is okay. And you have to really be okay with that. Quit trying to fix people, quit trying to make people fix themselves, quit trying to. I heard somebody made a post today and it touched my soul. Quit trying to give people your keys to unlock your door.
mm-hmm,
What working for you, that works for you. You can share tools of enlightenment, gems like we're sharing today, but you can't tell nobody how to live their life and what's best for them. Whether
right,
it's diet, dating, or anything. I will never say, well, you got to when you have to. No, I'm gonna tell you what worked for me. It's why you see me telling a lot of personal stories because I do this shit in real life. And that way I can help other people. And it's not because just want to tell people what to do. No, I'm helping people to help themselves because
right,
not to develop codependency. Oh, let me listen to these so I can get these gems. Please listen and get these gems, but implement them in your life. Knowledge is only power when it is implemented in your life, when it is put into the works. Okay, we can get a whole lot up here. I know a lot of people that love to store shit, that love to go and they like walking libraries. Like they can on command spit some stuff out and they walking around in circles. And it's because they started the first part but didn't finish. They got the knowledge, but they didn't implement it. They got it, but didn't put it in their own life. And that involves courage. So some unhealthy boundaries. Sharing too much too soon again.
yeah,
Um, telling the whole life story, everything used to be me. I was way trusting because I had a childlike spirit. I still do. And but I also exercise discernment now. And because sometimes it's too much for people. Baby, I
right,
was on the phone call with somebody. I'm on the phone with the Comcast people. And I'm telling them about a home birth because it would people love to have conversations with me. And sometimes, everybody don't want to hear about you giving birth in your bathroom, Z. You know
right,
what I'm saying? So I had to maintain boundaries there. And then sometimes you don't want everybody to know you done gave birth in your bathroom, for whatever reason. That ain't the case for me. Let's scream it from the rooftops, but maybe that's not the case for everybody, you know?
and you
So
gotta protect your information too because everybody is not of good intention, and you could give too much information to which someone can use to hurt you or manipulate you in certain ways. So that's why you should just be discernment before you just divulge your whole heart and soul. Like I had to learn even in relationships, stop telling people what the last people did to hurt me because that's just a tool, or you know what I mean. Now, not to say everyone is this way, but some people do use certain information like, oh, okay, I know that's a trigger for them. This how I get back when I'm in certain situations with this person. But I done told them this, to
Look,
you.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate, Nani. I'm gonna
Huh?
say that shadow work. That
Oh,
sh- that shadow work. So I want you to get like dive in, because I know this has been the case for a lot of people. I ain't gonna share because they can potentially use, and this has happened to me several times where I would share and then people come back and they'll try and use it against me, and I've allowed them to do that. And that's the key word, I allow. But like, what experience have you had, any personal like experience of like divulging information and then people come back and like, I'm gonna use this to hurt you? Or what's your experience with that?
yeah, I mean, just like I was saying, in relationships that I've had in the past, like I've shared, different things that have hurt me or different experiences that I've had, whether it be childhood or with other people. And, we be in mid argument and then it just come out, well, that's why your dad did this to you. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, dang, you
Yeah.
know, back then it used to re-trigger and re-affect me. But because I've been doing shadow work, it's like, I already told myself that. So you saying it is really not bothering me at this point. But what it is doing is revealing you to me. Like who you really are. What you said really isn't hurting my feelings. What it is now is, oh, I got to see you in a different light. I'm sorry you did that to yourself. You
Thank you though.
yeah, and but I think you just messed it up for you on that end. But
Thanks.
that's just an example of that. And again, like you said, that is shadow work. Because it all starts with self. So if you take your power, you take accountability for your triggers and your traumas and you're actively working on them, can't nobody say nothing to you that's gonna hurt you or affect you, because it's like, well, that may be true, but guess what? I've already acknowledged it and I'm dealing with it within myself. Or no, that's not true. And I know that's not true. And I'm not going to own that or accept it because that's not for me. And
Mm-hmm.
take
That
either,
ain't my narrative, baby. I don't know who you trying to write that story for, but I
and,
write my own.
so, but again, that comes with accountability of self, knowing where you are and your boundaries. But again, um, when you're discerning a lot of that information, you can, especially if you've healed from it, you don't got to even keep talking about it. So that it all comes into play that way as well. But just knowing, even some things that you share with people about your healing experience, you got to be protective of your healing experience too, because everybody shouldn't be privy to that information as well, because that's a sacred experience to yourself. And so all the nights that was crying and going through it, and like maybe that person really didn't need to hear all of that. Maybe you didn't have to share all that. But that's, again, is discerning who, what, when, and where. So it's a
Yes,
time for
I think
everything.
it's about trust. About, when you trust yourself, you know how you feel around those who you
Exactly.
don't feel, who are worthy to be trusted or not worthy to be trusted.
Exactly.
But not allowing them to make you, because when somebody change the way you really are, or if you're a person who here to share their story, and you let somebody who you divulge some personal information to derail you from your purpose of sharing, then they've changed you.
Right.
And then that means they control you. So until I wholeheartedly agree, someone who get into an alignment with themselves and knowing this no longer, because it's traumas trigger you. Things trigger you. Like I said, people in my face holler, "Oh, baby, you
Yeah.
trying to square up? Are you serious right now? Don't yell in my face."
Right.
And that's something that I'm actively healing from. So until you can get into a space of saying that don't bother me no more, and really be for real about it, not suppressing emotions, because some people fake it. You definitely exercise the boundaries and know what to share. This is very sensitive information that maybe I ain't shared but one or two people, and I wouldn't want this to get to
Right.
everybody, for everybody to know right now. So
Right.
I'm gonna hold on to it until I'm better healed, or this doesn't hurt, or this wound isn't so tender before
Exactly.
I can share. So I
Yeah,
absolutely
that's the self evaluation again, because a couple of years ago I was like, oh, I ain't telling nobody nothing, but that's because that's where the space I was within I was still working on me. Now I on the live talking about, yeah, whatever, because that is my purpose, to share, to help, to elevate. And so now it doesn't, I don't have any fear of what's to come with me sharing my story, or what's to come with me sharing my truth or being vulnerable. Like I don't care. So
Yes, and because our experiences, I've learned that when I was I didn't used to always talk about my experiences with fighting for custody for my children because of the stuff that happened in Memphis and abusive relationships. Even my teenage pregnancies, I was ashamed to discuss those things. And I realized that me sharing didn't necessarily come from not trusting people. It was because I was ashamed.
Right.
So I was like, I don't want to share that because that makes me feel a kind of way, or I'm embarrassed of that. So when I learned to accept myself and my experiences is part of me being on this journey, and that is what molds me into who I am. Those little tiny experiences and how I react to those experiences create me. If I suppress or hide or become ashamed of those, I'm ashamed of me. And I can't tell you how many people I've helped just by not even just casually mentioning what happens. Like birthing stories, or like I feel like that I celebrate myself. That's a personal triumph. So I don't do it for the gram, as people say. I don't do it for the public. So
Right.
when I share, it's because I truly, it's a healing
That's
experience.
right. Yeah.
It helps me heal. But for everybody, that ain't the same thing, because I talk to people all the time, and just sharing with one person is healing enough for them,
Right.
for stuff they've gone through. So some signs of an unhealthy boundary is, like I said, it's sharing too much or too soon, and not closing yourself off or not expressing your wants or your needs. If you feel responsible for others' happiness or well-being, children not included, because you are responsible for their well-being until they can care for themselves. But when we're talking about adults, when we're talking about people who can care for themselves, when you feel responsible for a partner's happiness or their well-being, that's codependency. They're depending on you, or you're depending on them to validate yourself. Oh, if I don't cook their food, they don't eat. And then if they go and get somebody else's cooking, or they go out to eat, then I feel like I'm not worthy. Or how dare you go get some food and I'm here cooking? That's
Right.
codependency both ways. Both
Right.
ways. You need them to validate you as being they cook, they chef, or needing you. And then they need you to cook their meals. That's codependency. And there's not nothing wrong with supporting one another. But when you're talking about relationships and roles, I'll use my marriage, for example. We don't have no dang on gender roles in this house. Everybody cook, everybody clean, everybody change diapers, everybody fix stuff, everybody do what they can do when they can do. We got a lot going on in here, and we got to band together as a team. So I look at it as, a codependent relationship is one that's just one sided. One person does all of this all the time. Now, if it works that way and it sets up, then that person's not feeling depleted, then that's okay if that's how the household works. But if you are feeling like you are the only one that's having to do this thing all the time, no reprise, no break, then there's maybe some codependency issues, and you need to put up some boundaries. Inability to say no, because you think somebody's going to leave or reject you, uh, that is denying yourself. Okay, if they leave, then guess what? You have to show them the door, whether it hurts that moment or not. You're gonna hurt yourself in the long run anyway, denying what you need. So might as well go and let this thing down. Bye. Allow somebody who really honors you and respects you to come through that door, because when you stand firm in those boundaries, you are setting the tone for how people treat you in the community, how those around you treat you. When you don't know who you are, what is it? First thing I ask people when I start consultations, whether it be birth plans or whatever, what do you like? What are your thoughts? You'd be surprised at how many people don't even know. Well, my husband said, and oh, well, my mama said she want. What do you want? They don't know who they are because they've gotten lost in the mix of not having boundaries. So they got everybody's emotions and opinions just weighing on them, and they done got lost in the sauce. Find yourself. What is it that you like? How do you do that? Spend time with yourself. People don't like to be in quiet. I've been around people who can't sleep in the quiet, who can't stand a quiet house because they're alone with their thoughts. And they don't want to face it. Some people don't want to do meditation. So bad stuff start coming up because it needs to come out. You can't suppress it. It's still there. It don't go nowhere. All
Right.
right. So spend time with yourself so that you know who you are. And you base how you feel about yourself. When you base how you feel about yourself about how others treat you, that's codependency. Facebook is like notorious for that. If you post a picture and don't get that many likes, oh, I'm gonna take it down, or I shouldn't have put that up there, or maybe they don't like it. Let me change it. No, if you like that photo of you, you keep it up. But people base their worth on likes and shares, and that's not a good value at all. At all. Most popular things aren't the things you should be following, but that's another conversation for another day.
Right.
But You got to know that you are enough without the likes, without the shares, without the 2 million followers, or with them.
And you have
You
to
are, you are enough.
be enough to you. Like as long as you are enough to you, then everyone else's opinion is really second to none. So yeah, just become enough for self, and you'll see that your reality will change.
Oh
That's
yeah.
yeah.
Putting yourself first. It's putting yourself first.
Yeah.
Putting yourself first, taking up space and leaving and freeing up space. I can't say this enough. Freeing up space to where you can allow new opportunities to come. Some people are so afraid of losing people and things and objects. You holding on to dead weight. Don't become that bag lady that Erica Badu was talking about, or bag man. Let it go, because you can't get anything when your hands are already full. So I've learned, like, I remember being the most prosperous in my life when I let go of a job that made a lot of money, but it didn't serve me energetically. It didn't serve me spiritually. It was draining. So when I freed up that big ass chunk of space, so many blessings rained in on my life. I was like, whoa. And it empowered me because I could provide for myself in a state of a place where I was taught that I always had to depend on a paycheck, or
Right.
somebody had to always make a way for me, or I had to always be an employee. I then became a boss. I became a boss because I let that mentality go. While I was holding on to that nice little money that I made fairly easily, I obtained so much more when I stopped holding on to the mundane, small things, because I got comfortable. I got comfortable, and that's not a space you want to be in. But it's another podcast for another day.
Yeah.
Um, Last pointer I have, and I'm going to share my 5 tips, and I'm going to get out of here because I know we're over time, but it's been good. It's really been good. I learned a lot. It's disempowerment, allowing others to make decisions for you.
Right.
Okay, this is huge. Well, my doctor said he gonna, but what do you want? Do you want surgery? Well, my mama said that again, she had epidural, and so I need one. I see this in so many different. My mama said this medication worked for. Well, what about you? Like, are you your mother? Yeah, you're part of her, no doubt about it. But you aren't her, and you aren't doing her a service by just honoring what she feels and what she thinks. Now, do please take her wisdom into consideration, mama, daddy, uncle, whoever it is, but don't allow them to make decisions for you. And nobody, like I said, these boundaries are across the board for anybody. Don't allow people. You can have input, you can have insight, you can allow them to educate you or what have you, or you can even hear their side of the story. But don't allow it to sway you or make you make a decision that you don't want to make. And that's where your power lies, in saying, this is what I know, what you're saying. I know you may have experienced that, but this is what I feel is best for me. That is empowerment. That is calling your power back, and allowing you to be responsible in your own life. So a lot of people may be fearful of setting boundaries because they fear rejection and abandonment, because maybe they've dealt with that as children, or maybe they really like this person, but that person really needs to like you back. And if
Right.
someone is not liking you enough to even respect your boundaries, and they don't respect you, and you don't need to be in a relationship, I wouldn't recommend holding on to a relationship with someone that doesn't respect you. Some people don't like confrontation. That was me. I do realize sometimes difficult conversations need to happen. It needs to happen in a certain way. You don't be sitting there yelling at each other and screaming, but sometimes you have to say difficult things. Sometimes, because it needs to, otherwise it does not heal. You have to feel it to heal it. So I was running away from confrontation because I wanted to be that people pleaser, that yes person, and it was all because I didn't value myself. Let people run all over you, step all over you, make decisions, and do stuff, dirty up your house because you're afraid to speak up for yourself. That self-esteem. I don't want them to be mad at me. Oh, I don't want them mad. Well, they're gonna be mad anyway. You know what I'm saying? Either with this or something down the line. Honor yourself first. Feeling guilty. That was a big one for me as well. I was guilty. Oh, I hurt that baby feelings. I'm gonna go over there and go and give it to him anyway. Nah, because they're not gonna respect you. You have to be firm and assertive. Otherwise, you're violating your own boundary. When you go back and apologize or feel guilty, or maybe I shouldn't. You said exactly what you said. You felt exactly how you felt. If it's something that you didn't mean to say, you can go back and speak on it, but don't go back apologizing for a decision that you made out of protecting the boundary.
Right.
A lot of people just weren't taught healthy boundaries, so they don't know what they are. That was me. Like, I was taught as a child. You seen, I heard, sitting over there in the corner. We did have boundaries. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I grew up in an amazing household, but it was a lot of things that were learned through just inherited things. that we did that really wasn't respectful of boundaries. So a lot of things that I didn't know. Sometimes people cross boundaries and don't know. I had a friend would come over to my house and she would sit on my counter. And I was like, girl, we cook on the counter. If you don't get your ass off my counter. But I was like, I thought that she would know that, but where she was from, it was okay. So sometimes people just don't know. And then safety concerns. Sometimes people are afraid to establish boundaries because as a survivor of relationships that were rooted in domestic violence, you're afraid. Person gonna come looking for you. Police most of the time ain't helpful. I just be honest with you. What's a restraining order? There's a piece of paper. They're gonna have that piece of paper right there when they come roll up on you. What they gonna do? Stop because they see the paper get real. It's not realistic. It's not really any type of protection. So because of that reason, a lot of people don't establish boundaries. And if that's the case, I strongly suggest you reach out to a support system and seek safety, like physical safety, because that person at any given time, especially what's going on right now in the atmosphere, might pop off on you. And you don't want nobody to project whatever they're internalizing, anger, guilt, fear, because anger really is just fear. Man, they're fearful of something, fear of losing something, fear for being challenged, fear of something. It's a protective mechanism. So you don't know when they're going to get in protection mode and go off on you. And you don't want to be anybody's punching bag. But I know a lot of people don't exercise boundaries and say, I'm just going to be good and not do this because I don't want him to hit me or I don't want her to hit me. And that is no way to live your life. Nobody deserves that. No one deserves that. Yes. So, got somebody said, okay, Tamara said, yes, indeed. I told my daughter the same thing. What works for me may not work for you. What do you want? Gave her own power to decide what she needs. And then she had a very beautiful, beautiful birth. And you have a very beautiful grandbaby. Congratulations, by the way, Tamara, on all your endeavors. Absolutely. Let your children think for themselves. They are very, very intelligent. A lot of them are more intelligent than us. Okay. Not to say we dumb, but we've been programmed. What none to go? Okay. I'm gonna keep on flowing. Yeah, I'm about to wrap this thing up here in a second. All right. Ashe and gratitude, ladies. I'm sorry I missed most of the show. I was so tired. I just had to rest. I'm so glad you're getting your rest, Mr. Bergan. Don't you apologize. This thing, hit that replay. Hit that replay. We got you. Don't apologize for taking care of yourself. You are a beautiful, beautiful mother with a beautiful family. You deserve an honor. You deserve the time to be honored and to rest. So please, please, please honor your truth and rest, honey. Please do. Please do. You are most welcome, Tamara. So I'm gonna share these 5 tips, y'all. Then I'm gonna head out of here. I want y'all to enjoy y'all holiday if y'all celebrating. If not, please, don't ruin it for nobody else. Don't be out here, don't be doing a 4th of July because I feel like anytime people get together to celebrate, that's cool. That's good for me. Like we didn't even know what Independence Day was, 1776 for the longest time in my family, but it was a time for us to get together and commune. And we created our own vibe and our own energy. So we found it as another reason to celebrate. I personally don't honor this holiday, but we're gonna do something to honor being off on a Monday and not having no clients and chilling. You know what I'm saying? So don't be out here. That's their decision. Honor people's decision. Don't be that person. All right. I feel like everybody that deserve to have joy and happiness. And sometimes I know for me, being around family does that, no matter what the occasion is. Self-friendly, life friendly. All right. So no, these are my 5 tools to maintain a healthy boundaries. Get y'all pen and paper out. It's gonna be quick because I am over, way over. One is know that you have a choice. You have a choice, you have a voice, use that power. Oh, I gotta stay because if not, he gonna no, you ain't got to do nothing. What did what's his name? Crazy, what's his name? Joe. What was it? Lean on me. All I gotta do is stay black and die. I ain't dying. We living forever around here, but you ain't got to do nothing. I said all of that to say you ain't got to do nothing. You can choose to do whatever it is you desire, and that's taking your power back. Number 2 is get clear on what it is that you want for you. What are your wants? What are your desires? What are your needs? Because you can't have a boundary if you don't know what you want. You don't even know why you got that boundary. Just creating stuff, creating friction, putting up fences. Why do you have that boundary? Mark the boundary. This is number 3. Acknowledge when a boundary has been crossed. When my son grabbed my phone and was going through my message, son, what is you doing? Oh, I'm reading the message to find a picture. No, this is my phone. And if you want to see something, you want me to show you something, then I can help you with that. But don't do it without my permission. Mark the boundary. Don't sit on it and wait. Please, God, no. I was big on this too, just sitting on information. like somebody crossed the boundary and I'm like, ooh, they pissed me off, but I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna worry about it. Oh, they just crossed another boundary and just letting it build up, and then you explode. It's like the straw that broke the camel's back. And then sometimes you're inappropriate. Person may just put the cup in the sink, and next thing you know, you done popped off because I've internalized all that pressure. Pressure bursts pipes. So you want to mark the boundary when it's crossed, not 10 years later. Please don't do that because then you sound silly. You want to go back and recall all these things. You might not even remember. And it's not like you're pulling stuff out of thin air. So mark the boundary when it is crossed. All right. Number 4, maintain an open-hearted, remain open-hearted and connected. Set the boundary in love, not division. Genuinely let this person know how you feel. And being honest and open with others. First, you have to be honest and open with yourself. So if you like, man, I felt like you was testing my gangster when you said that because that triggered me, and that's how I felt. And even and that takes away from you made me mad, or you made me hit you. No, or you made me break these dishes, or you made me cuss you out. No, I chose to cuss you out because of the way you made me feel. So I like to call people out on the way they made me feel because you can sometimes decipher what a person's intentions are, but we don't want to assume. So to keep from assuming, we say, hey, when you said this or when you did this, you made me feel. And if they don't listen to that, then they're discrediting your feelings. All right. So we want to we want to try and talk it out. Don't ghost them. If it can be salvaged, the relationship, if it's something that you feel like is worth salvaging or saving, then please try and talk it out and don't create a boundary. Sometimes you have to create those boundaries to where you deal with this person in a way that's healthy for you and them until y'all can continue to evolve, or, things change or not. But you don't want to hold a grudge is what I'm trying to say, because it creates blockages and energy, literally, literally. All right. And the last one we got, y'all. Oh, you're very welcome, Ryan. We're very welcome. The last one we got is be consistent. Boundary setting, listen, is something you can't be doing one day and not do the next. Yes, because it won't be respected. They're going to see you wavering and you didn't keep your word. So you didn't keep your word to yourself. Why should they? You set the tone for how people treat you. All right, y'all. Enjoy y'all for. I'm gonna enjoy my day. Happy Monday. Hope I share something that you could use, or share it with somebody else. Thank y'all for tuning in for another amazing episode of Mindfulness Monday. Nani disappeared on us. We love you, Nani. We'll see her next Monday. No worries, but love y'all to life. Shout out to BGN for allowing us to continue to use this platform and this amazing setup so that we can give it to the people the way that we do. If you have not already, subscribe to our YouTube channel and also the Elevate podcast series. Check us out and download it. Subscribe to it. We streaming on all platforms. Check us out. We upping our downloads. We just reached 1,000. I was at 100,000. That's what we're gonna be. We just reached 1,000 downloads in just a very short time. So let's keep that thing going. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all to life. Namaste, Soul Tribe. Peace.